That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet.
When you could not prove anyone right or wrong, all the expertise was contained in the people involved in the conversation.
We hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us.
Now, it's a bright yellow kayak.
Yes.
So it looks like a banana.
Maybe that was the problem.
Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Gillen.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're just trying to have a conversation here without Googling or fact-checking each other online, Googling, whatever, how you ever want to say it. Those things can so easily kill the conversation.
And we are finishing up the month where we took a challenge not to Google anything this month.
It was
in our personal lives. So if we had a question, for instance, you had a question about how to glue something together.
Right.
We would ask somebody.
Right. What kind of glue should I use?
Right. And as we had different questions like that during the month, we would actually ask someone. I was curious during the month whether Joseph's body was still somewhere. Joseph, one of the 12 tribes of Judah, because Joseph was embalmed by Egyptian embalmers.
So they should have done a good job.
So he would be like a mummy. He would be, he could be in a sarcophagus somewhere.
Right.
Just always wondered. So I put that question out there. Did anybody know if Joseph's body was still in a cave somewhere? Anyways, we put those kind of questions out there.
I asked you, should I get the 7.25-inch electric circular saw or a 6.5-inch battery electric saw?
I said battery. I'm very curious why you wanted a corded saw.
My main reason is that the corded saw never dies.
True.
Right? Never dies. It always has power.
Yes.
And then the other thing is that when you go to a battery electric saw, then you are hemmed into that particular battery battery technology. And so if DeWalt or Craftsman decides to change their battery after 5 years, well, now you can't get that battery anymore. Now your tool's dead. Now your tool's almost no good.
I said go with the DeWalt.
And I'm going to do the DeWalt.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go with the battery.
So we're coming to the end of that at the end of this month.
Yeah, I wonder how everyone else did with asking first, Googling later.
This one had us looking some stuff up, though, because I told you about something that I saw this week on the news.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of this. This is nuts.
A son and a father were out for a day on the water.
Yeah.
In some inflatable kayaks. However, their day on the water happened to be taking place in the Straits of Magellan and the Patagonia region, which is in South America. And from everything I remember growing up and reading, the Straits of Magellan and the Cape Horn is possibly one of the most dangerous sea passages in the world, at least around the Cape.
Around the Cape is, yeah. I don't think the Straits are all that. These guys were in kayaks. So
these guys were in kayaks.
They could see land. We watched the video.
But they were in heavy water, heavy sea.
Yeah. But
they were, right. Yeah. But this is not an area for amateurs.
No, I wonder what they were doing out there. I mean, they were in an inflatable kayak.
Yeah.
Usually when you have an inflatable kayak, it's because you're doing some backcountry hiking and you're trying to cross a body of water and you're packing it's a pack raft. It's really what it is. I don't think I'd ever go on big water in an inflatable raft if I had the choice.
I would not be out in the water they were in a raft at all, personally.
And that's because?
Just it looked like heavy seas. It looked like something you would want a fairly sizable boat to be out in. And they were out there in kayaks.
And I don't even know what they were doing. I didn't see a fishing rod.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing either. Maybe you're right. They were, like you said, maybe they're going from one spot in the Straits to another spot in the Straits, and they had to traverse the actual Strait of Magellan.
Yeah, maybe they're island hopping, exploring all the different islands.
Just having a good time.
So what happens next?
So what happened next? The father is videoing or recording the son in his kayak.
Yeah.
And they see the seas are troubled near him. And then suddenly a whale swallows him. I think it was a sperm whale.
Humpback
whale. A humpback whale swallows his son and kayak whole.
Yeah, you see basically the lower jaw come out of the water first, and then maybe it's the upper jaw, but one of the jaw comes out, and then the head comes around, and boom, he's gone.
And yeah, he's gone
him.
And takes him under.
He's gone.
He's gone.
And with the kayak.
Yeah, whole thing.
Now, it's a bright yellow kayak.
Yes.
So it looks like a banana.
Maybe that was the problem. Then a few seconds, what seemed like minutes, but a few seconds.
I bet you it seemed.
Well, I heard the interview with this guy. He talks about how it felt. Like it happened so fast for him. All he had was like the feeling of being in there. He couldn't see anything.
Right.
But he could feel that he was not in the right. He doesn't know what happened. Like his dad knows what happened.
Oh, so he didn't realize that. He realized he was underwater, but he didn't realize why it was all of a sudden dark.
Dark and slimy.
Oh my gracious.
So he doesn't realize he's been swallowed by, he knows something's happened because he's in an enclosed space and he's underwater. But his dad is the one that knows what's happened. He's been swallowed by a humpback.
And his dad has the composure to keep the camera rolling.
Yeah, that's kind of odd now that I think about it. He keeps filming the whole time.
Right.
And then after a few seconds, the humpback whale spits this guy out and he bobs back to the surface, kayak and all.
Well, the guy comes out first and then the kayak comes in a little bit later.
And it still looks inflated.
Yeah, right. I guess these guys don't have teeth.
I guess not. So evidently this whale was scoop feeding. And that's where he's just scooping up large amounts of prey and plankton or whatever, and accidentally scoops up a kayaker.
You think this was staged?
I have wondered. But it's been on so many news outlets now, I think that someone would probably have, if it was like a deep fake, someone would have
I don't think it's a fake. I think it really happened, but I think it was a setup.
Oh, really? You think he goaded the whale into...
Yeah.
How would you do that?
Well, you'd swim amongst where he's feeding. You'd swim right where he's feeding, and you'd position yourself where. So try to time it, and up comes the whale, sucking. He's just sucking in what he knows is there,
right,
and pulls you in.
It's awful.
The reason I say this is that the father who is filming didn't miss a bit.
That's true. Kept filming.
If you saw your child get swallowed, what you know is a whale, would you not grab your paddle and try to go after it?
Yeah, you'd think the film would show him frantically trying to do something.
The camera would go down on the deck and then we'd be paddling over there and say, "Where are you?"
Right. And that doesn't really happen on the film.
That doesn't happen at all.
Yeah. So this is actually the second time I've seen this happen.
Now, that's what don't sound right, Cecil.
This happened a couple years ago. Same exact scenario, except I don't know where this one occurred, in the world where it occurred. But same thing, out on kayak, whale was scoop feeding, scoops up the kayaker, and then spits him back out.
Yeah, that's what don't sound right, the fact that you've seen this twice.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now. But now you've got me wondering, the Billman effect is kicking in. I'm wondering if it's staged.
They baited. They baited the whale to swallow him.
They goaded the whale into swallowing him. People have done crazier things, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that's what it is for me, the fact that the camera didn't... think about all the times when something off in the distance happens and people are recording it, and something crazy happens.
Usually the camera goes down.
The camera goes down, and then it ticks me off. Hey, man, if you're going to film it, leave the camera up so we can see what's going on. Right. You don't need to see it. Just look at it through your camera. But he kept the camera going. So, I applaud him for being able to have the composure to watch his son maybe get swallowed whole by a whale. But that is just not normal. That is not the normal reaction of someone who wasn't prepared for this.
So he bobs back up. And the father is yelling to relax, to stay relaxed.
Right.
And so he yells that several times over and over and over. And so the son swims over to the father's kayak, and then they kind of get out of the Straits of Magellan.
Right.
The dire straits, if you would. So obviously it doesn't sound right that they got...
Also the weather that they were paddling in. It was cloudy. It was windy. It looked like a miserable day to be out on the water.
Oh, it did, yeah.
It looked like a good day for fishing for whales.
You may have blown this case wide open. We certainly blew the yam the yam
Oh,
scam
yeah.
wide open.
The yam
Maybe this
scam.
is.
Yeah, Big Yam. Have you gotten some calls from Big Yam?
We'll just disappear one day. I've kind of waited a few days to even tell you about this in case you hadn't seen it, just in case it came out as being a fake.
Okay, all right.
In fact, the first couple guys I mentioned to, which we had a good time talking about this, I was scared the whole time that at some point someone would go, oh, that it would come out that it was a fake. Right. But I've seen the video several times, and but now
there's a lot of news agencies that are covering it.
Yeah, it's like the major news agencies covered it, and nobody has said anything yet about it. But now you've got me wondering if they did, if it was a little staged.
I'm skeptical. Something I smell fish.
Well, it doesn't sound right.
It don't sound right, exactly.
So there's several things. One, I would not have been in a kayak, an inflatable kayak in the Straits of Magellan.
I mean, for me, it probably wouldn't have bothered me. I mean, if
You've gone out in that area?
If I had a reason, I mean, these guys had a reason to. I mean,
right. Well, you spank alligators, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, that was not staged.
I am all for adventure. By the way, my cousins have sent me many instances of where alligators can jump many feet in the air, lunge, attack in all kinds of ways. Speaking of that, this is an aside. There's a James Bond movie, I think it was Thunderball, where James Bond runs across the top of like 5 alligators.
Yeah.
That is a real scene. That was not special effects.
That was a real scene with real alligators?
A real scene with real alligators.
Really?
And the stuntman runs across the alligators, and they had to do it several times. So the last time they do it, like the alligators are kind of primed for him to do it. When you see the whole footage of it, it's pretty interesting.
All right.
But according to you, just like that was staged, this was staged.
Yep, that's right.
That's a pretty big stage.
Well, I mean, they've been probably working at this for years, Cecil, perfecting it.
But don't you think that'd be a pretty big chance that well, of course there'd be a big chance you'd be taking. To be swallowed by a whale just for a publicity stunt?
Well, I mean, if you got nothing else better to do. It's working out for him.
Well, I've seen it twice, so now
there's probably now going to be at least 100 people listening about it.
Right. And what?
And they're going to go look at that YouTube channel.
Okay, look at
That's right.
Well, there's a story in the Bible of Jonah being swallowed by a whale.
There it is.
He was in the whale for 3 days.
Right.
Well, it doesn't say a whale.
Right. It says a great fish.
It says a great fish. But now you've seen it happen twice. Oh, I've seen it happen twice.
Well, I think you were asking me, would I paddle in a boat, a small personal watercraft, knowing whales were around?
Would you?
I think I would if it were not killer whales.
What about humpbacks like this?
I would. Yeah, I'd probably a big thrill.
Paddle among the whales?
Yes, I think that'd be a thrill.
I've been out whale watching once.
Yeah,
in Boston. Well, no, it wasn't Boston. It was off the Cape. What's that Cape? Cape Cod.
Yeah.
They take you out and show you some whales out there. They're big creatures. Man.
Yeah, they're big.
They'd come, and we were in a big boat. They're still big.
Yeah. No, I think I'd probably do that. That'd be fun.
More power to you, man.
Yeah.
I wish you the best. I will not be filming you from another country.
But I guarantee you, if it was a killer whale, no way.
Well, what's the difference between what in your mind, what's the difference between a humpback eating you or a killer whale eating you? Either way, you're eating.
A humpback can't swallow you.
All the way, evidently.
Can't swallow you, but...
Think an orca can?
Well, they chew you up.
Oh.
Yeah. They got teeth. So they chew you up and then they swallow you. But at that point, you don't care whether you're swallowed or not. You're all chewed up.
You're all chewed up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that you have your limits.
I do. Every man's going to have his limits.
Yeah. Now, if you told me there were a bunch of whales out there, I would not be out there in a kayak.
Would you not?
No.
All right.
I've got where I don't even like to be in the ocean, man. I've seen
like on the coast,
yeah. I mean, I still go. I mean, I don't. There's so many sharks now on the North Carolina coast. Like people get bit every year now in shallow water.
Yeah, but haven't people always been getting bit by sharks?
They have always been getting bit by sharks. But it seems to be on the rise.
That's right.
My point
I bet now if we have a lot more whale swallowings, then we'll have some more data points.
All I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff in the ocean that you don't know that's out.
Oh, and it's very close to you.
That's very close to you.
And it could really hurt you.
Anytime you see those drone where people are like swimming and there's all this stuff swimming around them and they don't realize it's around there.
Yeah.
That's why I have all these stories of when people crossed the ocean a long time ago about the giant squids crushing boats and things like that. Because you don't know what's out there.
You don't know.
Yeah. it could still
Have
be
you
out
ever
there.
read any memoirs or stories about people crossing the ocean in a sailboat, like sailing across the?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are hardcore people.
Right.
I mean, first basically you're camping the whole time because you're basically in what amounts to a hard-sided tent.
Yep.
That has to stay afloat. You don't have a choice. It's got to be watertight, unlike your tent. It does not have to be watertight on the ground.
Mine is not watertight, as you approved.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah. I mean, and you have to really be able to navigate and keep your boat on course 24/7.
There was a 14-year-old girl that did that they made a movie about.
Yeah.
And she went around the Cape Horn.
Yeah.
And, very, very, where this kayak was, the vicinity of that is very treacherous waters once you get out into the open water.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, several things as a kid seemed to be bigger threats than they actually turned out to be.
Okay.
One was quicksand. Like, growing up, there was always the danger of quicksand.
Especially in your backyard.
But people always talk about how bad quicksand was, and that has not borne itself to be true in my life. I've never encountered quicksand. Right. But then, like, the Cape of Good Hope and the Cape Horn, like, those were like death traps.
Never want to go around.
Never want to go around either one of those.
14-year-old girl can navigate it, though.
14-year-old girl.
How bad could it be? The quicksand in your mind.
So in my mind, those two capes were always just treacherous from the books that I would read. I think early explorers did have a lot of trouble getting around them because the weather was so.
Yeah, the weather and the currents and the wind. The
whales.
And in this case, the whales.
Killer whales out there waiting to eat. So is there anything else out there like that could get you? Like not necessarily the ocean. Is there anything like that? What would be the equivalent of that? I guess if you got mauled by a bear.
Yeah. Or any kind of a moose.
Attacked by a moose.
Moose are not friendly.
I've heard that.
Moose are not friendly. Yeah. Do not mess with moose.
Yeah, so then you live to tell about it.
Yeah.
Somebody filming you, and then you live to tell about it. I wouldn't want any of that to happen.
Polar bear?
Yeah.
Any kind of bear. Or how about a mountain lion attack?
I've seen
You've heard these mountain lion attacks.
Usually somebody's jogging.
Yeah, right.
And then the mountain lion attacks, and they survive.
They survive, yeah. But still.
Used to. Do you
not without injury. This guy just got wet.
Did you get like Sports Afield or Field and Stream growing up?
Uh-huh.
And they always had the real life story in there. Do you remember this?
No,
it was always illustrated. It was always animated.
Okay.
It was always animated, and people would write in and tell them their real life true escape story. So it'd be like a bear attack, or they hurt their leg when they were filled, and they would do these
cheated death.
Yeah, cheated death, and they would do these animated little pieces in the magazine. I always loved those because it was always
animated or like a cartoon.
Like a cartoon, they would do a cartoon.
Okay,
it would be drawn.
Okay,
it wouldn't be real pictures, and so they would have this whole thing about the reader's story, what happened. They would illustrate the whole story. I used to love those stories.
I don't remember those. I don't remember those.
Those were the best part of those magazines to me. It was just, and usually it was always the same stuff. It was either a bear attack, or like I said, a mountain lion attack, or somebody had done something stupid and got hurt.
But never a whale.
Never a whale. You could do that now if they still did that.
This guy needs to do one.
He's doing a lot of interviews. You can catch him. The interview with just him is very interesting because he, like we said at the top of this episode, he doesn't know what's happening.
Right.
He is just feeling it, but he can't see what's happening.
He knows what's happening.
Oh, man.
He knows what's happening.
We're going to get in trouble over this episode now. You may have uncovered the great scam man. It broke here first, That Don't Sound Right. That's why we have this whole podcast, is to be able to discuss these kind of things. All right, don't sound right, Peter, but I think you've come to the end of this episode of That Don't Sound Right.
Well, before we close, thanks everyone for listening. If this is your first time and enjoyed the conversation, consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform you listen with. Maybe you might be new and listening on the YouTube podcast for the first time. Hit that subscribe button and like us on other platforms. If you're a longtime listener, give us a rating or leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation.
So the YouTube podcast is new for us.
Yeah.
Because we've been on YouTube.
Right. But YouTube has their own podcast section when you're searching for things. And now our feed is going straight to podcasts. It used to just to go to the videos.
Yeah.
So you'd listen to us on a YouTube video. There's nothing to see. But now this is strictly an audio file.
We need to start doing videos, I guess, of us doing the podcast.
Well, I'm looking around your house and trying to figure out how we'd set up the camera in the studio here.
Yeah, we have to get one of those ring lights. And then we have to learn how to do video editing, too.
Oh.
Audio editing's been hard enough.
Oh, yeah. Wait till we start hacking and coughing on video.
All right. That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcasts in conjunction with Camel City Studios. I'm your co-host and sound engineer, Cecil. Peter is your other host and your web designer. Camille is your barista. Emily is your graphic designer. Ella does your Instagram. Giorgio tests your merchandise. Brent is our international brand ambassador. And as always, listener number one is
Scott.
So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.